Water is precious. We are surrounded by water. We use it in our everyday life and often take it for granted. But it is a finite resource, and it has been polluted by human activity for years. The textile industry is one of the world's biggest polluters. For instance, 20% of industrial water pollution in China is caused by textile treatment and dyeing. The Sweden Textile Water Initiative works with brands and factories to save water in the textile production process.
What's wonderful about SIWI is that it's a brand initiative really trying to have a concerted effort in saving water and chemicals in the supply chain. We have focused for the past 3 years in a SIDA co-funded project in China, India, Bangladesh, Turkey and Ethiopia, and managed to save 7% of water in the operations of 277 factories. And that's fantastic, but there's a long way to go still for a transformational change in the whole of the textile industry.
The results of the project are very encouraging. SIWI has shown that smaller investments can create both environmental benefits and financial savings. It's a win-win situation. And the SIWI project is a unique business-driven initiative. SIDA has, in partnership with more than 20 companies, supported the implementation to reduce the environmental impact in the value chain.
Although we work internationally, we are based in Stockholm, a city that was very polluted in the 1800s. In 1870, the Stockholm city management decided to take action and clean up the city's environment. Today, the lake that borders Stockholm, Mälaren, is so clean you can safely drink from it. It's no surprise that World Water Week, the leading global annual event on water, takes place in Stockholm every year.
The World Water Week comprises all from heads of states to junior students. This year we had 3,300 participants from some 135 countries.
During World Water Week, we interviewed brand representatives, industry experts and consumers and asked them some pressing questions regarding sustainability in the textile industry.
There is certainly an upfront cost to some of these initiatives, but I would also look at the cost of not doing anything.
I would say that the initial costs are actually, you get a return of investment quite fast, because working with resource efficiency not only saves the environment but also your financial side of it. So,
for instance, in this World Water Week, we've just been presented an exposé from Pakistan, which was showing that the return of investment of a water solution was 5 to 10 months.
If you look at the natural resources available now, the levels, the current usage rates, consumption, particularly for a material like virgin cotton, you can see that the current consumption levels, they just can't continue. They will outstrip supply. So if you look at it that way, nothing should be too expensive.
there are several networks as well as brand organizations out there, and we have great examples. For instance, Sweden Textile Water Initiative, we have Textile Exchange, Made by, Sustainable Fashion Academy, Sustainable Apparel Coalition. So there's a lot of different initiatives that you can actually turn to learn more.
And for textile, there's a wealth of information out there with all the great leading organizations, SAC, ZDHC.
We at KappAhl, we have worked with many networks, and for example, SIWI has, we work for 5 years now, and we can see that they can really sort of show that it make a profit both for the factory and for the environment.
I believe this we are doing still all these water related actions in silos. There is a kind of an urgent need of collaborations.
We have to keep collaborating in all different manners, communicate, meet, discuss.
We can have the synergies when it comes to our resources, when it comes to our kind of impact that we are trying to make at the business partner.
So we actually just had panel discussion on this, and it became very clear that all the main actors in the industry were all very aware of each other's work, and we're all advancing in our work. And so what's happening now is a lot more of collaborative projects, which we're really happy to see.
To move away from doing less bad and actually contribute to the environment could mean, for instance, not using water at all when dyeing a product, instead using carbon dioxide that we've actually extracted from the air or the water, and by that having a positive climate impact instead of a negative one. That would be great.
We do see the overall awareness of the worker can reduce the water consumptions in a very optimal way. There are better chemicals that's been coming in, which will also eventually help us to reduce the consumption of water, reduction in uses of energy, and this consumption of chemical as well.
Been a real drive for finding more sustainable options in the finishing of denim, which is notoriously very high impact with many washes and chemicals. And there is a real incentive there for innovation and a real push from consumers to actually find more sustainable ways to do this.
What about the consumers? What do they think? How important is it for them that the brands they buy invest in sustainability?
I think that everyday decisions that we make is what makes the world a better place.
It's important for me that a brand considers sustainability, just because I am so aware of sustainability.
If I'm going to be honest, I buy my clothes from H&M, secondhand stores, wherever I can find them. My girlfriend also buys my clothes, most of them.
If I buy a suit, then I go for quality, high quality, so it lasts longer. That's a sustainability issue in itself.
I try to buy secondhand. I try to reuse my own stuff, or my friend's stuff, or even my mom's stuff.
But yeah, in an ideal world, it would be extremely important to source clothes from sustainable sources.
If we can take it down on an individual level, and I can make an impact by choosing to buy clothes from brands who actually care about the world, I think I'm doing my part.
To not be afraid to take some quite big chances, whether it's changing the raw materials, whether it's looking in-house. Current margins and price points of manufacturing in China, at least, and other Asian countries, there isn't enough of a margin for them to be delivering on what brands are claiming to want of recycled fashion and so on. And so they need to work more closely together.
If you haven't started working with sustainability, you just have to start. There is no question.
Last but not least, be brave to try new things, both in terms of new production processes, but also new ways of, or new kinds of relationships and connections.
My vision for the textile sector in the future, I think there's a really interesting balance to be struck between working on closing the loop, having truly circular production, so not just on materials but also on resources like water, on renewable energy, but balancing that with the need to respect the development needs of production countries. So I think it's going to be a really interesting balance, but I feel optimistic that there are solutions that can take us on that journey as a global kind of network of production.
And it's only by having created this consolidation, by having made sure that all of the R&D of every brand, all of the solution, and that it's brands united and manufacturers united and all together coming together, that we will be able all together to create a brighter and most prosperous future for our industry.
Where there's an opportunity and the future for all of these actors, private sector, government, civil society, to come together and collectively act, that is the future.